Yeah, how are you?
In my dreams.
Just so you know.
Yeah,
In my dreams. Oh,
I remember Daphne and then in the tunnel.
oh yes. Oh yes. Yes. Good morning, everyone. So happy to see you all here this morning on Mother's Day. We are so blessed. We are so blessed continuously. And I was just chatting with Nita and her reminding me of being in the moment, because we just get so overwhelmed sometimes, and we are in the moment right now and right here. Would you all like to join me in singing our opening song? Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Our Sunday services are being live streamed this morning. Thank you all for joining us out there. And thank you all for being here in the physical. And you may donate if you care to by going to PayPal at Unity Billings at gmail.com or on our website, our unityofbillings.org website. If you haven't checked out our website, please do. It's awesome. Thank you, Leslie and Clayton. All right, our announcements. The first thing I would like to announce is that we have a new board. We had elections last week, and the new president of the board is Clayton Fisher. Yay! Yes, yes, yes. And the vice president is Linda Westmacott, and secretary. That's right, I've got. And Robin is the co-everything, so she keeps us all straight. What is your official title? The
Treasurer.
Okay.
For the board.
The keeper of the board. And the treasurer. So I'm very, very grateful to have these wonderful people serving on the board and participating, and feel free to let us know what you think, what you want, what we need. The board meetings are also, there's a portion of the board meetings that are open to all of you if you care to join in. We're doing most of them Zoom, but anyway, we'll talk more about that later. Thursdays, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Yoga with Tony. Awesome, awesome. It's a great, great refresher. Thursday evenings, and it's just magical here in the sanctuary doing yoga. It's really good. Our potluck Sunday is the first Sunday of each month. We have busy bags. Here we go again. We have busy bags in the basket in the back for any children that are with us, or any of those of you that are young at heart. And please return them at the end of the service. Thank you, Elizabeth, for putting those together for us. Our meditation room is available 9:30 a.m. Sundays, Monday, Tuesday evenings, 7 to 8 p.m., and Thursdays on yoga night, 5:30 to 7. Today, very special treat. We have Rev Jim Reindollar with us. Again, we've missed you. So good to have you back. And his message is Mother's Day. Did everyone get a Mother's Day blessing? Wonderful. Thank you so much for these, Jim. So good to have you. On May 18th will be Reverend Edie Weigel. Fishing. Awesome. We're going fishing? I wish. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, we should do that.
I think so too. We should have a fishing party. No services will be held on Memorial Day weekend. June 1st will be Reverend Phil Zemke. All right, if everyone will take a moment and gather yourselves, take some deep cleansing breaths. When I say gather yourselves, that's synonymous with centering, okay, just in case, because this little voice in my head is saying centering, centering. And we will listen to David Friedman. Thank you.
Your soul has longed, but your heart is already here, is already real. There is no one out there, there is no you hold all the answers deep inside yourself. There's a voice that whispers, there's no you, no me. There's just one, there's just unity. One power, one presence, one light to lead the way. All loving, all knowing, that answers when you pray. When the world looks dark and your eyes gather all your troubles, give that all to me. I am always with you. I will always. I am one. I am unity. We are one. We are
Thank you, David. And as I attempt to light the Christ candle, there we go. Wasn't holding my mouth properly. It's a reminder of the indwelling Christ within us and in our service today. So our daily word, which we have copies of the booklets in the back for a donation, 2 months. Our daily word is Mother's Love on May 11th, 2025. The tenderness of Mother's love shows me the presence of God on earth. Love is a life-giving force, a tremendous power that binds all people in God. It is through this love we are all members of one family. A mother and all those who selflessly share Mother's love give warmth and depth to the free-flowing love of God. There is something so pure, so warm, and comforting about a mother's love. This is the love that encourages me when I doubt myself, that accepts me when the world feels cold, and that celebrates my successes and helps me shine. No matter how mother's love comes into my life, I recognize and give thanks for its divine source. As the motherly love I have felt throughout my life has blessed me, I pray those who have loved me so tenderly and fiercely know the love of God as they have shared it so generously. Will you join me in, wait, let me finish this part. Wait. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Proverbs 31:29. And will you all join me in affirming mother's love? The tenderness of mother's love shows me the presence of God on earth. Thank you. And our Unity of Billings Foundation principle. Actually, this is the Unity Foundation principle. There is only one presence and one family in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And our Unity of Billings affirmation. Through divine wisdom and grace, Unity of Billings is vibrant, healing, and inclusive. And now if you all will take a moment and hold your tithes, your offerings, your prayers in your hands, infuse them with your love and your energy. And Robin will play us some fabulous music. Will you join me in praying? Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful.
Better make you get up and move.
All right.
Thank you for the Holy Spirit, thank you for the same. Thank you for the Holy Spirit, thank you for the same. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for the Holy Spirit, thank you for the same. Thank you for the Holy Spirit, thank you for the same. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for the Holy Spirit, thank you for the same. Thank you for the Holy Spirit, thank you for the same. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for my friend Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friend Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my friend Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friend Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my health, Spirit, thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit, thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit, thank you for my life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit, thank you for my wealth. My opulent wealth. My opulent wealth. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing day. This healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Oh, thank you. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Oh, thank you. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Every day I say, thank you for this day. Ow!
All right. Karen Drucker, amazing lady. All right. Thank you all for your gifts, for your physical presence, for the energy that we all feel in this moment, right here. We can take this healing, loving energy, whether it be energetic or physical or whatever it is, in whatever form, the love and the light that we make, that we generate, it infuses us and throughout our community, throughout the world, the love and the light of God. And so it is. Thank you. And now, it's a great pleasure that I have found my way. Here we go. Yes. It is great pleasure. It's like, wait. Boy, I messed these papers up and it's trouble, as you all know. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to those of you that have not met Rev Jim Reindollar. And his message is Mother's Day. Thank you for being here, Jim.
Thank you.
Oh, good morning and happy Mother's Day.
Good morning.
It's been a few years, I think, but this is always, when you're in a bit of a transition, I got to be here quite a bit and recognize most of you. Some of you are new, so welcome. My name is Jim Reindollar. I'm a licensed minister with the ELCA Lutheran Church, and it's always a joy to be here with you here on Sunday. So does everybody have one or one that they can share these Mother's Day blessing papers? Okay. Because if you do, we're going to use that as part of the service. So there's two sides to it, and they are two different things. So to start with, we will do the one that has the heading of Mother's Day blessing. I will read the light print if you will read the bold, and then we'll close. After I do the sermon, we'll do the other side. In one way or another, each of you was born of a mother. Because we are human, it's likely that your relationship with that mother is, was, or will someday be challenging. If you identify as a woman, there's almost certain that your connection with this matter of mothering is or was sufficiently complex that it's sometimes hard to explain. From the diversity of our lives, from the similarity of our hearts, let us pray. For all who never knew their mothers, and all who chose or were compelled to let their children drift away.
We ask a blessing on this day.
For all who long to hold their newborn in the arms of love, and all who face a pregnancy with fear.
We ask a blessing on this day.
For all who struggle with the pain of their mother's increasing confusion, and all who feel the muddle growing in their own heads and seek to keep it from their parent or their child.
We ask a blessing on this day.
For all whose mothers never grew up, and all whose mothers never learned to play.
We ask a blessing on this day.
For all who missed the chance to say I love you, and all who long to say it now, but find ourselves afraid.
We ask a blessing on this day.
For all who carry ancient wounds, infertility, abuse, misunderstanding, anger, grief.
We ask a blessing on this day.
And for all who struggle with regret.
We ask a blessing on this day.
Amen. For my reading this morning, so I want to do something on Mother's Day. I've never done a Mother's Day sermon before. And my first thought was to go with the book of Ruth. And so I did. So my reading this morning comes from the first chapter of the book of Ruth. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Kilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Kilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of the people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-laws prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-laws, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-laws, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud, and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons who would become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even I thought there was still hope for me. Even if I had a husband tonight and they gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grow up? Would you remain unmarried for them? It is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." At this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So the 2 women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" I was trying to think of a little brief Mother's Day story because I know you all have great laughs. So I wanted to tell you a little funny story to start before we get into the sermon. It's a story of a young girl goes to visit her grandparents for a couple of weeks. And while she's there, the grandparents are throwing a dinner party. And so the young granddaughter gets to see her grandmother cleaning and cooking and making everything just perfect for the guests. And as they finally sit down to eat, someone suggests, oh, the granddaughter should say the blessing. And everyone agrees, yes, this is a good idea. Except the granddaughter. She's a little nervous, so she leans over to her grandfather and she asks, what should I say? He says, just say what your grandmother says. Okay. And so everyone closes their eyes, bows their head, and she says, dear Lord, why did I invite these people? So we pick up things very easily, so the good and the silly. So, and I wanted to start with that because my actual start of the sermon, well, it could be a little controversial. It's a little claim that may not stick with everybody, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I have lived in many states. And in every state I have lived in, I've discovered people believe that their state is very special and unique, and no other state is like their state. The people of that state are not like everyone else. And it's quite common. And I didn't really notice this until I lived in Virginia. And so I was part of a church that had just gone through some tension with the outgoing pastor. And some of the congregants said, one of them said, the problem, I think, was he wasn't one of us. And someone, what do you mean he wasn't one of us? He wasn't a Virginian. He didn't get us. And others chimed in, yes, that's right. He didn't get us. He wasn't a Virginian. So the people of Virginia did not feel like they could connect with this pastor from, let me check my notes, Maryland. He was too different from them. And so I expressed some of my frustrations with the church at that time to another pastor friend from Virginia. And he was with me all the way until I told him that exchange. To which he suddenly changed allegiance and said, well, we Virginians are very unique people, and not everybody gets us. And I kind of wanted to say, except for this, I understand everything about you. It's no different. Everybody's this way. But, the nice thing about, as we look at these states, and again, everybody thinks that, and thanks to social media, I get it even in states I don't live in. You get someone who will say, hey, the weather here was really screwy today, but that's us. We know how to handle it, right? Everyone seems to say, if you don't like the weather here, just wait 5 minutes, it'll change. It's true for every state. No one can drive like us. We know how to handle things. Everyone in their state thinks that. Everyone's so proud of their state, which is great, but they start to think that no one's quite like us. We're just very special. And our experiences have that, which leads me to Oklahoma. No? Okay. So I lived in Oklahoma and I worked at an art museum. And there was an installation of art with a little plaque that has a saying on it. And it was by the president of the university who had once been the governor and a U.S. senator from the state of Oklahoma. And he wrote this little thing that you can imagine very easily a politician from a previous generation using this as something to bring people together, a little bit of patriotism for their state. And it went on to say that we in Oklahoma are special because we are people of harsh winds and red soil. And every time I would walk by that installation, I would think to myself, other states have harsh wind and red soil. What are you talking about? This is, you're not that special. But people do like that sort of thing, and it went over well. But again, I hear this in every state that I've ever lived in, and that includes Montana. Some years ago, there was a poll taking, who was the most proud of their states, and Montana came in second. And I encountered that pride frequently. Which leads me to my controversial statement. None of these places were as unique or as special as the people told me. The people and landscapes are, they're everywhere, and they cover all over the land, and we're just not as unique as we think we are. Now, it doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, it's not wonderful to be part of a state or to live there or the people there. but it's just not as unique as we sometimes think. Now, I tell you all of this because I didn't recognize this until I was an adult. But I did recognize these attitudes when I was a kid around mothers. I grew up in rural Western Pennsylvania, and there was an Italian immigrant community. And so you would hear things like, "My dear sainted mother, no one was quite like her. She was just amazing. She took on everything. She was the kindly caregiver who nursed all ills, gave us the right advice, and never condemned, and always showed unconditional love. Nobody was like their mother." And of course, if it's done right, that's the experience we should all have. It's not that unique. It's something that probably many of us in this room have experienced, either as a child or for those of you who got to be mothers. There was good, there was bad. It was never perfect, but you did your best, they did their best, and hopefully you all turned out well. You're here today, you turned out well. So that's what you look for. You know, it's good. So I sometimes will push back. And usually it's just someone's little sting, I don't worry, but if they lay it on really thick, I sometimes, you're not that special. But not to deny the negatives, but just that the positive is there as well. And so we have these good experiences, and we should remember and celebrate them. And so I'm a fan of Mother's Day. Some people have talked about like, we should maybe do away with this, but people do have bad experiences. That's for sure. We have that a little bit here in our Mother's Day blessing, that recognition. But I do encourage Mother's Day because even if you did not have a good experience, it's still, you recognize those values that we associate with mothers. And if your own mother did not give you that, hopefully you found that with a grandmother, an aunt, an older sister, a teacher, a neighbor, a church member. And it should be good for all of us, mothers or not, to extend that to others because we all at some point need that in our lives. Everyone should know this good love. The origins of Mother's Day, as celebrated in the United States anyway, date back to the 19th century, pre-Civil War. Anne Reeves Jarvis of West Virginia started what she called the Mother's Day Work Clubs. And this was, from what I could tell, kind of like the Mr. Rogers of its day. This kind of, let me show you how to raise children in a really good way. And so these clubs became a unifying force in a region of the country. And then post-Civil War, Mother's Day kind of became a let's bring about reconciliation. So it's kind of a way for Confederate and Union soldiers to get together to promote reconciliation through Mother's Day. Julia Ward Howe, the abolitionist and suffragette, wrote the Mother's Day Proclamation in 1870. And she was hoping that this would lead to a World Peace Day on June 2nd, was what she had hoped for. It took several decades, unfortunately. By 1912, though, most states, towns, and churches even began to adopt a Mother's Day program. So some churches, and I guess the Anglican Episcopal Church still can have a Mother's Day religious service as part of their lectionary. But the persistence finally paid off, and in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson, at last, declared a measure officially establishing Mother's Day as the second Sunday in May. And here we are today. So that's the history. So now to our text. When we look at the Bible, there are only two canonical books named after women, Esther and our text today, Ruth. I used to joke about the book of Ruth by calling, since it involved a romance, as it would happen later on in the chapter, as the chick lit of the Bible. I don't do that anymore because, and the reason is I just began, as I got older, to have a higher regard for the character and the story. It meant a lot to me. So this story about three widows may seem a bit of an odd choice for Mother's Day. But Ruth is the first book in the Bible to have the perspective of women. You probably have heard of that, is it the Bechdel test, I think it's called, or Bechdel, I'm not sure. But it's the idea when you watch a movie or TV show, is there a scene where two women can carry on a conversation? No men around. And then they later expanded it to, can two women carry a conversation where they aren't talking about the men? So that's just kind of a test to make sure, are you getting a woman's perspective in the story? The book of Ruth, the perspective is all the women. And the only scene we have in the whole book that the women are not involved is two men talking about the women. So it passes the test. Very early literature to do that. So in Ruth, we only have that one scene. So not only is Ruth a woman, which would have been daring enough for the writer back in the day anyway, but she is a childless widow. And you have to remember in those days that women were not going to work. If their husband died, their family was supposed to take care of them in some way. So when we have three widows, there's no one for them to turn to. So Naomi makes the decision to go back to her homeland and takes her two daughter-in-laws. And so Ruth is now not just a widow. She's not just poor, not just childless, but she's about to become a foreigner. She's going to be the ultimate outsider. The book of Ruth, especially the first chapter, illustrates the relationship between a migration and food insecurity, as it begins with a famine in the land. And the famine will happen and make people make decisions to move along. They move to new lands where they hope to at least sustain themselves, but the husband and the two sons all die. And as we have our three widows. So these experiences force them to make another drastic decision. And so Naomi goes back to her homeland. The strain of the three women's relationship is likewise illuminated in the first chapter here. They are brought together because they are poor, they are widowed, and they are all childless. They are in great need. But Naomi hears that the Lord has considered her people back in Judah and given them the food opportunity. So she makes the decision to trek back. But as we heard in our text this morning, she knows that she cannot take care of her daughters-in-laws. They really don't have much hope if they go with her, she recognizes, and encourages them to go back. And after initially both decide against that, Orpah eventually gives in and returns to her homeland. But then we have another decision to make. And she tries to encourage them to move along, but Ruth stays by her side. This is another unusual aspect. Again, she probably didn't have any hope. Her best shot would have been to go back. But she makes the decision to stick with her mother-in-law. Perhaps out of love for her mother-in-law, just not wanting her to be left alone, she goes along. So Naomi and Ruth begin this trek towards Bethlehem at the beginning of the harvest, at a time when food might be accessible to widows, as that was a command of the people. You were supposed to leave some food behind for the poor to come by and pick it up. So they move along, and then of course we have the love story part. This is where Ruth meets Boaz, a generous landowner who has compassion for the poor, but also recognizes that he is falling in love with Ruth. And so that plays out in Ruth, as we are told, eventually becomes the lineage of King David will come through her, and eventually the prophecy that the Messiah will come through her. So this childless widowed foreigner is important for Jewish and Christian history. She leads to some of the most important people of the Bible and the world. All of that is a very good situation. But the book of Ruth has even more going on than that. In an age where strangers were not welcomed, where women were thought no differently than farm animals, the story of Ruth is a standout. In that famous exchange, where the mother-in-law encourages her to turn back, Ruth is defiant and chooses her widowed mother-in-law to stand by her, saying, "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." This line has special meaning to me. When I was dating my future spouse, who was an ordained minister, He said to me that being a pastor will mean that we sometimes will have to move to new towns, new states, new regions. It could be every 5 years, 20 years, I don't know, but it could be a lot of moving around. Was I capable of just dropping everything, quitting my job, no matter how much I liked it or not, packing up and moving to a state that I may never have been to before? And so when he asked me that question, my immediate response was, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God shall be my God. So when we got married and the pastor asked us, well, what's your text going to be? We didn't have to think. We chose that Ruth 1. Now, this minister, who was actually the campus minister for the college, he never got to do a wedding. So he said, can I do your wedding? We were like, yes, because he was one of the few pastors we had in common. So he was very excited to do his first ever wedding. He was near retirement age. So it was probably the only wedding he's ever done. And so we gave him that text. And he says, what am I to do with this? Most people choose 1 Corinthians 15, the love chapter. But instead, I get two men giving me a text about two women who are not in a romantic relationship. What am I to do with this? But we didn't catch that. But we kind of liked it all the more because we took that as a sign of like, well, that's because love is greater than, sexualization and intimate love that we can romanticize about. It's certainly part of a relationship, but it just kind of made me feel like, yes, there's so much more. And so Ruth embodies that. Just kind of like the mother's love word today that you had, that a mother's love is showing you the presence of God on earth. It's a great line. Because love doesn't always look like Hollywood portrayals, so that's always a great thing. And Ruth and Naomi show us portrayals of people who go beyond themselves, who think of others. These are great examples of mothers who do all those great things that hopefully your mother did, and for those of you who are mothers do, and for those of you who are fathers get to do as well, because these are just good things to instill on each other. This should be all of us, because this seems like this is a great thing, and a desire for everyone to learn this. But to go back to our beginning, your state isn't as unique as you think it is, but that doesn't mean it's not special and important. Likewise, a mother's love. It's not that unique because hopefully it's very common. It's something that I hope we all experience and all get to give. It's a saying that says, you aren't that special, but you're still loved and needed. You do matter. A mother can encourage us to be individuals, but she can also encourage us to be part of a community. The community needs our individuality, but our individuality means nothing without community. And mothers, I think, are great at showing us that we belong, no matter what others might say, and that we are important, and that society needs us all. Ruth is a less than ordinary woman who becomes extraordinary just by being herself. You don't need to be special, you might say. And a mother's love, which is just so common, but it's one of the most important things that our world has to offer. It's just the ultimate thing that we need. And my mother passed away a few years ago, and I can't tell you how hard sometimes I just wish I could pick up the phone and call her. It's always present with us, just as God is always present with us. And so our being there for one another is a way of being a mother. And we all need to do it, and we all need to receive it. Your just being there will make you an extraordinary, special person to someone someday. Thanks be to God. So now we will do the, see if I can find it, the other side of that handout I gave you. There's no title for it. But once again, I will read the light print if you will read the bold. Great Mother God,
who created mothers,
and invented mothering,
mother us now,
into your peace and comfort,
into your nurturing love,
into the kindness of your presence.
into the shadow of your wings,
We know that mothering takes many forms,
and is done by many kinds of people.
in different ways and situations.
Give us the wisdom of your heart.
We know that love is risky,
There's always the possibility of pain.
the risk of disappointment or loss.
Give us the courage of your mother's heart.
We bring to you the cares of this brokenhearted.
We bring to you the pain of the disappointed.
We bring to you the hardship of the overwhelmed.
We bring to you the ache of the separated.
We bring to you the ache of the separated. Teach us the worth of our own souls.
And the value of our existence.
Give us your mother love
To heal us.
to nourish us.
To share freely with the world.
Amen. Blessings to all of you on this Mother's Day and throughout this week. May God be with you. May you share the mother's love this week. Amen.